Judge ruling Brian Kohlberger, the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, can face the death penalty.
Chanley Painter joins us with the details. Chan.
Hey, good morning, Todd and Carly. So the death penalty remains on the table despite the defense throwing nearly every legal argument imaginable at the judge in hopes of sparing their client from the possibility, if he is convicted, of being the monster prosecutors say murdered 4 University of Idaho college students with a K-bar knife 2 years ago. In filings, the defense claimed, among many other things, that the death penalty goes against contemporary standards of decency. But the judge pointed to the fact that both the Idaho and the U.S. Supreme Courts say the death penalty is constitutional. Well, the family of Kayla Gonsalves reacted on Facebook with this, quote, "We finally have a judge who appears prepared, thoughtful, and well-versed in the legal process. There is a newfound level of seriousness that has been absent for far too long. Justice is moving forward, and we pray that one day in the not-so-distant future it will be served." And this decision comes as the defense also filed a 160-page motion this week to suppress much of the evidence in the case, including the defendant's own DNA allegedly found at that scene, guys.
Pope Francis will soon canonize the Catholic Church's first millennial saint. The honor will go to Carlo Acutis, a late London-born teenager who's been called God's influencer. Our chief religion correspondent Lauren Green has got more. Lauren?
Hey, John. Well, you know, from the time Carlo Acutis was a child, he possessed an extraordinary faith, even though his parents weren't very religious. But Acutis brought his family to a deeper faith. Acutis died of leukemia in 2006 at just 15 years old. He was a child of a digital age, teaching himself computer coding. And his devotion to Jesus compelled him to start a website to document Eucharistic miracles around the world. His mother told me that Carlo was exceptional and had a faith-filled wisdom beyond his years.
Carlo used to say that death, we don't have to be scared about death. Death is the passage to the true life. Life, we are like caterpillar, we have to become butterfly. When we die, we are like butterfly. The only thing we have to be afraid is sin, not other things.
In 2020, the Vatican confirmed a miracle attributed to Acutis. A young Brazilian boy was healed from a pancreatic illness after his mother prayed to Acutis. Last year, a second miracle confirmed a young woman was healed from a brain injury from a bike accident after her mother prayed to Acutis in Assisi, Italy, where his body lay. And I spoke with Bishop Robert Barron, who said his canonization will hopefully inspire more faith among young people.
I think the church, in holding Acutis up, is trying to draw those people back. It's the most pressing issue in my mind in the church today, the disaffiliation of the young.
The lives and legacies of saints being highlighted in a new Martin Scorsese docuseries, The Saints, on Fox Nation. It's streaming now. You want to check it out. This week's episode is on John the Baptist. And by the way, Pope Francis announced Acutis will be made a saint in April.
Now a dozen women volleyball players are suing San Jose State University and the Mountain West Conference. It's all over an alleged biological male allowed to compete on the team. They say their Title IX and First Amendment rights are being violated because that person is on their team. One of the women listed in the lawsuit, co-captain Brooke Slusser, was here on The Focus with me not too long ago.
These girls, and me, myself included, we come to college just with that dream of playing collegiate sports and pursuing that dream we've had since we were just little girls. And the difference being here is that we've had to put up with so much more. The end goal is to just never let any other young lady or girl have to go through this in sports ever again. No one should have to go through this.
So imagine that. You've got this player on your team, and now other teams don't want to play San Jose State University because of that. So it's not just the young women on the team who see this, transgender athlete, but other players don't want to play with them. So 5 schools so far have forfeited games against San Jose State University this season. 24 states signed on to a new brief urging the U.S. Supreme Court to take on the entire matter of transgender athletes, biological males, in women's sports. Their legal brief argues serious concerns for women and girls' safety and fairness. Now, San Jose State University's team associate head coach, Melissa Beatty-Smoot, is with me. And Melissa, you were just suspended after filing a complaint about this very same player in question. Thank you for joining me in Focus. First of all, why did you file a complaint?
I just couldn't take any more after Brooke Slusser came out and was speaking out for her rights, and that they continued to treat the young women on the team and myself poorly for having our thoughts and opinions, and they were told to us, like, we can't have those.
So, you know, we say suspected biological male, we say alleged, all of that. What are the rules and the laws around you being able to say this is a guy on a girl's team? Because I have to imagine, I mean, Brooke shared with me, she couldn't even really say the truth in a room. So what are the rules and the laws like for you as a coach?
We're definitely not allowed to speak on that. I'm continued to be told that, you know, the suspension would go to being fired if I speak out. So continuing to hold that silence over myself and the remainder of the women on the team.
Wow. But you are speaking. You're risking everything. So this is important to you.
Very, very.
Tell me about your personal journey. I mean, I was reading about you. You've been in NCAA college sports for a long time. You're a storied coach. You've taught a lot of different, I mean, you've coached a lot of different places. You've seen so much victory in your days. So what does this mean? I mean, at this point in your career, to be dealing with this issue, and how do you resolve it, help resolve it for the girls that you lead?
Yes, I mean, at this point, you know, this just to me, it's like common sense. There should not be biological men playing in women's sports, but we are here right now. And I do think this, you know, is an opportunity for me. It's nothing that we all sign up for, but I definitely feel so strong that, you know, that moving forward with this and helping this fight and making sure we save women's sports for the future of young women, my nieces, my grandchildren, is very important.
Melissa, how surprised were you that other teams didn't want to play San Jose State University? And full disclosure, I went to high school in San Jose, so I know that area and that school really well. We had graduating seniors that went on to play at sports at San Jose State University from Independence High in San Jose State. I mean, I can't even imagine schools not wanting to play you, but 5 of them said no.
Right. Yes, so proud of those young women to stand up for what they believe in when they're also being silenced by the Mountain West, and they're holding, you know, their scholarships and things over their head. I think that is amazing. That's what we need. We need everybody to stand up and make sure that this does not continue.
Wait a minute. I have to cut in. They're keeping young women from having scholarships if they talk about this. Isn't that a First Amendment right? I mean, I'm surprised that there hasn't been more legal attraction to the journey that you're on right now. I mean, they can't take away their scholarships because they don't want to play with someone they suspect is a biological male.
That's what they're holding over their heads. And that's why a lot of the teammates on the San Jose State team is afraid to come forward. They're afraid to lose their playing time. They're afraid to lose their scholarship.
And with this, and I know you have to be careful about what you say, but with this biological male alleged player on your team, I'm not even really sure how to talk about these people anymore because transgender, I mean, we have so many titles about them and people get sued and fired if they don't get their titles right. But what's it like to coach that individual? Because that individual's on your team.
Yes, I mean, I guess that's an area that is a really tough area for me to speak on right now. Okay. You know, I would like to stay off that.
Okay, but that individual's still on the team.
I mean, yes, very difficult and very difficult for these young women to be there in that space. And they're just so courageous and strong young women to have to face this when they didn't choose this.
Are you surprised that there are 24 states now that are wanting something at the level of a U.S. Supreme Court involvement? That's my last question to you, because this is not a singular journey in California or any one state. It's half the country.
Yes. And we need the whole country, but I'm just like so grateful that that's happening right now. And hopefully it will be.
Melissa, thank you. Thank you. And
Thank
keep
you.
us apprised of the suspension situation that you have for standing up. And I hope you continue to coach.
So with that, we bring in Republican Texas Land Commissioner John Buckingham, who has offered 1,400 acres of Texas land for, quote, deportation facilities. Commissioner, great to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be on with you. Thanks for having me on.
So I spoke with Mr. Homan about this, and he said we absolutely need this kind of space, even for temporary holding of people who are going to be the criminal deportees, because they have to make negotiations with the countries where they're going and they need to be processed. Give us a sense of how many people you think are going to be in this facility. How long is it going to take to erect it?
Well, we're here to be a good partner with the Trump administration for the safety and security of our communities. And we just want to enforce to everybody that the first tranche are literally violent criminals who have been hurting our daughters and sons. A lot of them have been in jails previously all over the country. ICE detainers haven't been honored. It allows them to rape and kill again and again, as we have just seen with some of our recent young ladies who have perished at the hands of these folks. So my idea is this detention center is really a last stop. These illegal violent criminals are clogging up jails, creating problems locally. They need a place for central processing. If we can be of help, we want to be of help. This piece of property is adjacent to a good-sized road, an international airport, and then, of course, an international crossing with a bridge over the river. So we think it's ideally located. And again, we're just here to be a good partner with the Trump administration to be sure that these violent criminals that are hurting our sons and daughters are off of our soil.
Yeah. I mean, we heard a lot about freedom and rights for women in the election, and Laken Riley had all of that taken from her in Georgia, very sadly, and we watched that heartbreaking trial play out. But with regard to what you're talking about, and this is something I think a lot of people don't focus on, there are a lot of illegal immigrants who are on the deportation list who are currently taking up space in U.S. prisons. Here's Kevin Stitt, the governor of Oklahoma. Watch.
Everybody that's in our prisons that are here illegally, that are breaking our laws, we believe in public safety. We want to protect the citizens of Oklahoma, and we want to be ready to get them out of our state and out of our country.
You know, the other side of that is the understanding of who will leave first and why. And I thought this was fascinating. This is some sound from Mexico. This is Christopher Padilla, who is a Honduran migrant, who says he is not afraid that if he gets across the border, that he will be deported. Watch this.
I watched an interview where Trump said there will be a deportation of anyone who committed a crime from any country. But for an immigrant who hasn't committed any crime, there won't be a deportation. So I'm not afraid of anything. Whatever happens, the dream is the American dream, and to be there.
So, John, what goes through your mind as you listen to that man?
Well, again, what we're talking about with this piece of property is just getting the violent criminals that are hurting our sons and daughters off of American soil. They shouldn't even be here in the first place. I think the talking points about ripping families apart and permanently separating families are really just the Democrats' desperate attempt to distract the American public from the fact that it is their policies that have led to the rape and murder of untold numbers of children, the hundreds of thousands of migrant children alone that are, quote, lost. We know that they're trafficked. We know terrible things happen to them. We cannot stand the complete absence of the rule of law. We need to get our communities safe again and get these violent criminals off American soil.
Very true. The cartels have been winning all across our border, making money hand over fist, trafficking young people into this country, into slave labor and sex trade, and that has to stop. I think everybody on all sides can agree to that. Thank you very much, John Buckingham, Texas Land Commissioner. Good to see you.
There are no words I keep telling people to describe the emotion when we walked up our driveway. We did not expect our home to be so devastated, truly catastrophic damage, and I think we're still in shock.
Angela King and her husband Christopher spoke to us on the program last month in front of their damaged home in Hurricane Helene back in October. It's just about a month and 1 day ago. Their family is one of thousands in the Southeast that are homeless and struggling with the early signs of winter as the cold weather sets in. Angela and Christopher King are back with us again in the aptly named Blowing Rock, where it's 30 degrees and the wind is howling. Angela and Christopher, we checked in with you a month ago. At the time, you said that you were in shock. You hadn't heard back from FEMA on a housing allowance. Where do you stand right now?
We are still currently waiting. We have been in the FEMA main office here in our home county numerous times. We're told we're just kind of in the queue. So we are still awaiting to hear final word.
I mean, we're seeing on the left hand. Go ahead.
Hopping.
Go ahead, Angela.
I was just going to say, in the meantime, thanks to the generosity of friends and friends of friends, we are just kind of house hopping around until we see if we get that housing allowance.
Oh, my goodness. You told us last time you were here a month ago that you were couch surfing. Yeah, we should also point out that you've got 7 children with you. How does that work?
Well, we have just the younger children with us, although the other ones come and visit pretty frequently. I mean, it's working out okay. We do have somebody from Pennsylvania that we're working with and hopefully get a tiny house back on our property. The challenge is that it is now winter, and it just makes building here that much more difficult.
So we were seeing pictures on the left-hand side of our screen of your home and how it was so badly damaged, I mean, destroyed really, in Hurricane Helene. You told us that you had twice been denied by your insurance company in terms of money for a rebuild. Where does that stand now?
That still stands as it was. Unfortunately, we are still not going to receive any assistance from our insurance at this point.
Are you kidding me? Nothing?
Unfortunately, I am not kidding. We are not going to receive at this point any assistance from insurance.
Oh, my God. On top of all of this, Christopher, it's my understanding that you also recently had to restart cancer treatments. How's that going?
I did go down in October 22nd, several weeks after the storm hit, and had cancer treatments for prostate cancer. And I have to say, all in all, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm really pleased with where things stand with that. It's made it a little easier to have that part behind me to be able to focus on family and be able to focus on getting our home back to where we need it to be.
Gosh, I can't imagine that on top of everything else that you've been going through. You know, that we can see behind you, there's snow dusting the hillside. As we pointed out, it's 30 degrees there. The cold weather setting in, at least for the next few days. Angela, we've been seeing pictures of people who've been living outside their destroyed homes with their families in tents, while apparently FEMA workers not far away are living in heated trailers. The question I had for one of our guests earlier was, we've heard that FEMA has got all dozens and dozens of trailers. Why aren't they putting those in the neighborhoods where people have lost their homes?
I will say that I don't know about, we do know the FEMA workers from here are staying in Wilkesboro, which is about 45 minutes away. I don't have any personal knowledge as to how many trailers they have, but we do know families, you know, with several children that have been sleeping in their car and had to rely on other agencies to get them, you know, emergency funds for hotel rooms.
Oh my gosh. So what are you going to do?
So our plan right now is to begin working on getting the tiny home built. It's going to be tight, but we're going to make it work. Move back home onto our property so that we can then, I guess, through the generosity of people in the area, people reaching out to the community, get our home rebuilt. Until the tiny home is ready for us to move into. We've had friends or even friends of friends, complete strangers that we've never met, that have offered to let us move into their homes. It's like we said a month ago, it's still like couch surfing in college, except we're doing it with a household full of stuff and children.
Franklin, I was going to say that Blowing Rock also happens to be the home of Franklin Graham's Samaritan's Purse. Have they been of any assistance to you?
I cannot speak highly enough for Samaritan's Purse. I mean, fact is, we had 8 feet of mud on 2 different levels in our home, rock, trees, other debris. And once a local contractor came and shored the house up, Samaritan's Purse came in, and we can see our floors again.
Wow.
They came in with pickaxes, 5-gallon buckets, and shovels. They've worked for about 2 weeks, and they have us ready to get the house inspected by an engineer and start designing. Samaritan's Purse has sent out probably close to, maybe a little over at this point, 300 different volunteers.
Wow.
I can't speak highly enough of what they have been able to do for our little family.
Yeah, well, it's a great organization, no question about that. You told us a month ago you were living with full hearts and heads up high. We hope that you can keep them that way as the cold weather sets
Absolutely.
in. Christopher and Angela will check back with you. In the meantime, our prayers are with you.
One state migrant crime has reached is Virginia. Law enforcement there arresting an illegal immigrant for rape. Police say the Honduran national attacked a woman on a popular trail in northern Virginia. They say he's in the country illegally and has been arrested and released multiple times with a history of sexual assaults. And police are warning there could be more victims out there.
The Venezuelan gang Transgender now has operations in 16 states. That's according to a Homeland Security memo obtained by the New York Post. Crimes linked to the group include murder, robberies, gun smuggling, as well as famous apartment takeovers in Colorado. Joining us now is Victor Avila. He is a retired special agent with ICE and Homeland Security investigations. He and his partner were ambushed by a Mexican drug cartel some years ago. His partner, Jaime Zapata, was killed in that incident. You know, Victor, all too well the dangers of Mexican drug cartels. This is a new danger from Venezuela. What's your assessment of Transgender?
It certainly is a danger and actually a national security threat. A lot of people are not talking about the links that the Tren de Aragua has to Venezuela and the regime there with Maduro over there. So Maduro has a lot of connections, obviously. We know that Hezbollah, Iran is present there, and the Tren de Aragua coming directly from the Maduro regime into our country. And by the way, mentioning the Mexican cartels, the latest that I've heard is that Tren de Aragua is now kind of feuding with the Mexican cartels to take over some of those areas and plazas to take over some of these smuggling schemes because they see the money and potential that they could make with that type of trafficking.
Yeah, they're nothing if not brash and willing to flex their muscles. Our Carrie Kupek, who used to work at the Justice Department for Attorney General Bill Barr, said when she was there in the DOJ, nobody even mentioned Tren de Aragua. It was all about MS-13. But take a look at this map and see how far that they have spread across the United States. You know, they are, Victor, almost like a cancer, literally metastasizing daily across the U.S.
I tell you, John, this is going to be the #1 priority for Tom Homan and the new administration to go locate these individuals and not just deport them, but actually investigate them because we have national security issues here. We need to know what the reason they came over there. This is not the type of migrant that came over because they want to have a better life. They actually have come here with a different agenda, and you've seen them taking over the apartment complexes, wreaking havoc, murdering. By the way, I was glad to see the verdict on the Laken Riley case and this animal get finally sentenced. But by the way, there's so many Laken Rileys out there. I just spoke to the mother of Lisbeth Medina, the cheerleader that was murdered last year in Texas. There's many of those that need the attention, the national attention of the American people that know that this is happening. And unfortunately, John, I get a message almost every day now, almost every day, of another crime committed by an illegal alien in this country, whether it's murder, whether it's rape, whether it's a property crime. And we've had about enough of this. We have enough crime in the U.S. to deal with, and then we have to somehow, deal with California and other states that want to protect them. Enough is enough, and we're going to make some serious changes come January 20th.
Yeah, just a little ways west of here on a bike trail that I used to use all the time. There was a woman who was raped by an illegal migrant from Honduras. Thankfully, they caught him. You talked about why Tren de Aragua is coming to the United States. Clearly, it seems to be the land of opportunity for them. Listen to the director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation on what it's got its tentacles into.
We're aware that they are moving into different operations. They go from human trafficking to organized retail crime theft. And then they move into the drug trade, taking on the cartels in a very violent, bloody battles that they've had. And they also have zero respect for policing. They have attacked law enforcement officers throughout our nation.
I mean, they are becoming very diversified, and they don't seem to fear anybody.
They're involved in the fentanyl trafficking. Some have been arrested in Chicago doing that. Yes, in the human smuggling and human trafficking trade. And now they want to do it themselves. That's why they're in the feud with some of these cartels. And he's absolutely right. This is the culture that they bring because they grew up hating the police. They were trained and told that the police is their enemy. This is very different than the culture that we grew up here in the U.S., respecting law enforcement and respecting authority. This is what we have to deal with. They absolutely have no respect for any life, especially a law enforcement officer. And this is what's going to be dangerous about it. This is the type of group that we will have to be approaching very methodically and very safely to take them out.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.